All right, here's the ATA for LiveStream-118. Thanks a lot, William Arends. Here we go. Um, Translator's note. Here are the articles about the war in the Western Theater and the U-boat operations. Just like I did last week as well, I've popped in those little footnote things just to little prompts to remind me if I need to talk about something specific. The other interesting thing is I have not recorded the war summary. I read it out, but I've not recorded the war summary, and also did not provide anything for William Arends ahead of time. So I do apologize about that to William Arends about that, because it would have been nice to say, hey, this is a few things I saw, but also I'm like I said before, I'm excited to see where this goes, where William Arends takes us, to see where he wants to explore with the Great War and bring it back. So I'm really excited, to be honest with you. So like I said, it's also neat as well. I'm starting to shift the focus, like I've said before, more towards other people's contributions. I just want to be just want to hang out with you guys and talk about the Great War and gaming. That's really about it. All right, here we go. Berlin's latest news, Friday, the 27th of April, 1917, the morning edition. Further favorable results from the U-boat blockade. 55,000 recently sunk in the Mediterranean Sea. What I do find is interesting as well is this is a lot of focus on the Mediterranean Sea, which is really neat. But you're still, as far as I know, we're still going to hear a lot about the scariness, the British and whatnot. They're worried about the U-boats. I think later on, you're going to see that when I'm probably going to have to read out the war summary. It's getting so late. I'll do that on a separate, whatever. It'll be part of the live stream. But anyways, here we go. Berlin, 26th of April, official. In recent days, 10 steamers and 6 sailing ships holding around 55,000 gross registered tons have been sunk in the Mediterranean Sea. Among them included as follows. I guess I should say GRT, so that way I don't have to do it later on. On the 5th of April, the armed English steamer, the City of Paris. I don't know about you guys, but don't you find it? It's almost like horse names. I find for ships. It's quite fascinating. I wonder if there's like books out there of like, why ships were named the way they are, or whatever. There's trends, or I don't know. Anyways, 9,239 GRT was sunk while underway from Bombay to Marseille with packages. On the 10th of April, the armed English steamer Dalton, 3,486 GRT, underway from Salonika to Malta, and the Italian steamer Porto di Rode, 2,480 GRT, underway from Alexander to Genoa with packages. On the 11th of April, the Greek steamer Meritos, 2,500 GRT with coal, underway from England to Port Said. On the 12th of April, the armed English steamer Kildare, 3,800 GRT with a load of coal. On the 15th of April, the armed English steamer Mashobra, 8,236 GRT, fully stocked with corn and foodstuffs, underway from India to Marseille. On the 16th of April, the English troop transport steamer of about 12,000 GRT, possibly belonging to the Orient Line in the Aegean Sea, and the Greek steamer Zenobia, 44,000 GRT, with coal from England to Italy. On the 17th of April, a heavy laden steamer of unknown origin of about 3,500 GRT. On the 18th of April, the armed steamer Rinaldo, 4,321 GRT, with coal possibly underway for Italy, and the sunken sailing ships that were mainly carrying loads of sulfur underway to an Italian port. A supplemental report made after it had returned to port has announced the results it had on the 16th of April of the U-boat success in the Mediterranean Sea against the following steamers. Just on a side note, because I'm every time I see these dates, like the 16th of April, I'm thinking, okay, this is the first day of the Nivelle offensive going on, up in France. And this stuff, there's just so many things going on at once. The armed English steamer Britannia, 3,129 GRT, carrying cotton from Alexandria to Liverpool. The armed steamer Calliope, 3,829 GRT, carrying 5,100 tons of coal from Cardiff to Malta. The armed English steamer Trevista, 2,642 GRT, carrying 4,000 tons of coal from Cardiff to Alexandria. And the armed English steamer So more of a 3,674 GRT. The second English breakthrough attempt near Arras has been shattered. The English assault is spent. We've got to stop here very quickly, though, because you're going to see it monstrously later on when we take a look at some of the headlines. Well, even this week with the headlines, my jaw dropped because it's William Arends' ATA basically was confirmed by me just watching the latest edition for the Indian Idol Great War thing week to week that pertains to what's going on here. And it confirms just what is happening, that the British are not doing well at all what's going on right now. And of course, we know the Neville offensive just collapsed and whatnot. And it was interesting, actually, though, to read about a bit on the Neville offensive. Or, I mean, listen to it on with Indian Idol saying that, ironically, the Neville offensive did make some progress. However, Neville was so boastful about what could be achieved, and that since it didn't happen, and he put so much of his reputation on the line, it collapsed. Yeah, well, we saw this week. I mean, he was just quietly replaced, at least in the English newspapers, and Pétain's back, for goodness sakes. Here we go. The battle of, and so it's just so neat to see. Technically, well, it's still going to be a bit of a slant, obviously, but we're going to see, I think, a bit more of an accurate portrayal of what is actually going on right now with the Battle of Arras with the British and the Germans from German newspapers. At least it seems to be corroborated from the Indian Idol stuff. So right on, this is awesome stuff. The Battle of Arras, on the third day of that battle, has died down. The Englanders have only been able to take a few positions on the sector of the front on either side of the Scarpe River with their hard-driven attacks. These powerful attacks and the raging breakthrough attempts that they made were literally bloodied. Oh gosh, I've got to go and look up my things here. Number one, after our frontline troops who had recently seen action in the east told us that they themselves could only compare these English losses to the massive losses that the Russians have suffered in their attacks that had been made without artillery support. And I just put here, are they referring to the good old days of the Gorlitz-Tarnów breakthrough? I don't know. I really don't know what they're referring to, but it's food for thought as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, all the testimonies of the prisoners give the same clear understanding of how horribly the English battalions have been completely deteriorated. And here I put, can we find supporting evidence in either the Globe newspaper or other accounts? And ironically, when I hadn't watched the Indian Idol thing yet, and ironically, it corroborates what we're seeing a bit here, that it's supporting evidence. So I love this stuff. Anyways, here we go. Keep on trucking. Fourth day of the Battle of Arras. As had happened on the third day of this battle, so the enemy, after their heavy losses, were not able to succeed in their undertakings on this fourth day as well. The defending German troops held by force almost all the sectors of the battlefront that they had possessed in the previous days. Translator's note. Here are two more articles. The first, a frontline report from the Battle of Arras and the region of Champagne from the 28th of April, and the second, a report from the higher headquarters from the 30th of April. Most of these types of reports tend to repeat the same kind of self-congratulatory statements about the invincibility of the German troops and the vulnerability of the English soldiers and French formations that have attempted to attack the trench lines of the Reichswehr. Berlin's latest news, Saturday, 28th of April, 1917. Oh, we're going to have some juicy bits about Baron von Richthofen in a minute there. So thank you, William Arends. A heavy artillery exchange from Arras up to the Champagne. Berlin, 27th of April, evening report, official. On the Arras front, in particular sectors, heavy fire has ceased. Along the Arras-Cambrai road, a renewed British attack has been turned back with losses. Lengthwise, on the Aisne and in the Champagne, there was a heavy exchange of artillery. Northwest from Saint-Quentin, the enemy infantry troops who were moving in the direction of Tresco and Villers-Puich have been driven back by the effective artillery fire from our batteries. East of Hagricourt, an enemy patrol was intercepted. In the late afternoon, animated enemy artillery activity occurred in this sector of the war front. After a fierce preparatory artillery fire northerly of Villeret, there was an unsuccessful attack on our advanced positions. The city of Saint-Quentin fell under heavy artillery fire again. On the Aisne and in the Champagne, there were heavy artillery battles in particular sectors. Hold on, I'm going to look up what number 3 is all about here. Oh, it's way off into this thing here. Enemy trenches known to be densely occupied came under our effective artillery fire. I think I put that down as I think was probably just due to the fact that I was assuming that this is interesting. Like, how are they getting these spotting bits for the effective artillery fire? And is this? I'm not sure if it's the Germans. Maybe it's the Russians. Darn it! I have to go and take a look. But there's someone that's using new artillery methods that they're incorporating, and I'm like, oh, I will have to look. I'm not sure if it's the Russians or the Germans, but anyways, that kind of got me into this. And secondly, just due to the fact that we know that the German strategy right now, it seems to be with their airplanes, is to stay behind their lines and let the British and whatnot come towards them, and then they count how many planes, send more up than they got, and so on and so forth. I'd like to know how they're getting this effective artillery fire. Like I said, is it just better methods over time or whatever? Anyways, advanced enemy patrols have been turned away. Several of those reconnaissance patrols were captured. Later in the afternoon, the enemy artillery, particularly in the vicinity of Cernay and southern part of Corbenay, became more intense. Easterly from Ferme de Hauterbise, advancing troops armed with hand grenades were rebuffed. The reconstituted heavy enemy formations on both sides of the Bray were seen and targeted. Yet again, I want to know how they were seen and targeted. That's all. I just would like to know, so I'm probably have to go and look up some books, and which I probably won't do, but I'm just saying I would like to do that. In the evening and through the night, the enemy artillery fire continued in the vicinity of Cernay and in the area south of Craonne. The apparently intentionally coordinated massive French operations against the highlands of the Chemin des Dames led to a wavering partial clash of arms, which is the Nivelle offensive. In the vicinity of Bray, the response to the French attack was its suppression by fully effective German gunfire. A still more forcefully heavy artillery barrage around 9 p.m. had turned back a French attack south of the sugar factory in Cernay with heavy losses, and in the same way counteracted heavy probing assaults near Ferme de Hauterbise. Also in the vicinity of Beret-en-Bac and on either side of Prosnay, the artillery fire became more intense. There, the enemy forces were able to maintain themselves at full strength. On the banks of the Meuse, there was lively artillery fire in the evening. An enemy bombing attack to the rear of our front had no success. Berlin's latest news, Monday, the 30th of April, 1917, evening edition. From our headquarters, the higher headquarters, 30th of April. The Western Theater of War, the army group of the Crown Prince Ruprecht. After the great English attack was shattered on the 28th of April, the Englanders attempted only a single attack against Opie, north of the road from Douai to Arras. In 4 separate attempted assaults against the hotly contested village, their strength was exhausted. The village remains in our hands. On both banks of the Scarpe, a heavy artillery battle took place. The estimated number of the losses of the English from the 28th of April, that was carefully enumerated to be over 6,000 men that fell either at or in front of our positions. Besides that, our troops brought in over 1,000 prisoners with 40 of their machine guns. 10 of their armored vehicles were destroyed. I'm assuming those are tanks. The army group of the German Crown Prince, an aggressive French reconnaissance unit yesterday morning, sought to achieve success through a destructive fire aimed at our positions near Beret-en-Bac, at Bremont, and north of Rennes. I just popped that in about aggressive French reconnaissance unit because at first I didn't understand. I wasn't sure if they meant like airplanes and whatnot, but then later on it says you'll see here. Our entrenched troops turned back this assault. I just find that I would like to know more about yet again. I just find this stuff juicy. Anyways, Since noon, the shooting along the line from Soissons up the Snipes has again increased in intensity without a pause. In the evening hours, this activity reached an ever higher rate of fire. The action became less intense later in the night, but then it grew again to its previous strength in the early light of the dawn. The army group of Duke Albrecht, nothing to report. Our opponents on the Western Front lost 11 airplanes on the 28th of April. 11 in one day. Holy moly. That gets worse. They lost another 23 airplanes on the 29th of April, and besides that, 3 stationary balloons. Both our pilots and our air defense cannons took part in these results. I just popped that in because I just find it a really interesting term, air defense cannon. That night of the skies, there he is. Holy moly, did he ever have a nice little while here, eh? That night of the skies, the Baron von Richthofen has earned his 48th, 49th, 50th, 51st, and 52nd victories in air battles, all dogfights. We're not talking balloons here. And the fighting flyer who belongs to the same unit, Lieutenant Wolf, shot down his 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th enemy aircraft. Holy smokes. Reconnaissance patrols and bombing raids were led by our pilots deep towards the enemy positions in France between the Somme and the North Sea and the sectors of the Aisne front to the southern banks of the Marne. To say this, I hope to God we talk about this, connecting the dots later on in the early bits of the live stream, and maybe potentially in the war summary. That'd be awesome. Because there's some good stuff there. Anyways, the Eastern Theater of War, the situation is unchanged. Macedonian front between Prespa Lake and Cerna, lively artillery fire. Yes, and we got this is going to be nice to see because this is opposite. Well, it's not. It's a different take on what's going on down in the Macedonian front, and yet again, it seems like the Germans are getting a bit more, or portraying it a bit more accurately than what's going on actually down there. I think the Bulgarians are doing quite good right now. Remember that I think way back when, I can't remember the general there, he was been spending all winter getting them set up real good, and the British were like, holy shoot. Anyways, between Prespa Lake and Cerna, lively artillery fire. Remember, fact checker. An English pilot was brought down by our battle squadron as he attempted to return to his base after a successful air raid he conducted against our camps and the train tracks in the Cerna curve. Just curious if we could figure that out. Sure you can. Like, who was that English pilot? The first General Quartermaster Ludendorff. Is that it? I'm sure there was some more stuff I wanted to chat about on this. Jeez, I could have sworn there is. I guess there isn't. Maybe it went into the live stream bits. Thank you so much, William Arends. I hope everybody has a great remainder of their weekend and a great week. And hope to see you. Well, it's going to be quite some time. 3 weeks from now, because I've got a lot of things to do. Anyways, that's it. Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye.